let me speak into this whole concept for a moment of this us versus them mentality. And it's a war mentality. And this war mentality is been around for so long. This is to transform that into illumination and deeper realms of really shining our light fully and freely, joyfully, joyously, unlimited and uninhibited for the highest good of all and your highest good. We need to transform this war mentality. And so you can start on your own individual scale and look at the war that's going on in your own mind. You know, I want this, I don't want this, I want this, I don't want this, I can do it, I can't do it. You know, there's that warring mentality. And so you use that choice point to take a look at what you're doing, let it go, look within, and let love flow to transform whatever that is into a deeper realm of emotional freedom. You know, be very specific about what you want to, what you're asking for, because you're asking yourself to grow into that. You're asking yourself to vibrationally evolve into a new way of looking at the world around you and understanding who you are in it. So that war mentality, it starts with you. And then you could take a look at, well, how do you react to people that have got different points of view? You know, if you immediately want to shut it down and you don't even hear the story, you don't even hear the reasoning. You know, people want to be heard. You want to be heard. So listen. Just be open and listen. You don't have to change your mind, but just be open and listen. But really be open, really be curious, and really listen. Don't listen for the opportunity to change your mind because you got to win at all costs, because that's more of that warring mentality. And it doesn't do anything but create more war. So the next step would be you start to take a look at the way you behave with people who think and feel differently than you. Then, and it also gives you the opportunity to kind of feel into, well, wait a minute, maybe it's time for me to refine my point of view, not as far as they think, looking at the total opposite of how you view on your viewpoint in any given subject, but it might pull you along the scale, because you see somewhere in that scale, there's a deep inner peace. And within that deep inner peace, you also have the space in your mind and heart to open up and let unconditional love flow up into your human consciousness. And that makes all the difference in the world. So that's another reason why it's really good to hear other people's stories. It's also an act of love. And you can bounce your ideas off of other people if you do it in a really open mind, with an open mind and heart. Then, not to this warring mentality, then you take a look at, when you see two other people fighting, how do you respond to that? You know, what do you do? Do you turn your back and say, well, no, that doesn't affect me? Au contraire, my friend, it totally affects you, because remember, we are in this big, organic, symbiotic relationship with every other human being on this beautiful little planet in the middle of this entire cosmos. It is all connected. It's all connected. So you turn your back on that, you're feeding it. So if nothing else, use the choice point to really take a look at it. Let go of any habit pattern to turn your back, let go of any desire to jump in and take one side or the other, and just emanate love. And if you feel inspired to come in, inspired, where it's rising up from within, inspired to come in with a neutral, to kind of begin to show, well, what's that middle ground, you know, because remember, it's all the vibrational scale. What can you do to bring people to step off of the polar opposite and find something that's along that scale? Somewhere along there, they will find their deep inner peace, so that illumination can rise up. And you can find, at the very least, a level of comprehension, or a sense of hearing and being heard, which again is an act of love. But it also opens up our chances to find a meeting ground where we can start to really have good, meaningful dialogues about where do we want this to go? What is it that we really want? It is for our highest good and the highest good of all involved. And by the way, to follow that inspiration, it's going to take acts of courage. So again, take a look at the fear, transformation into illumination, to the courage to, and take that action. And it's going to feel weird. It's going to be a little uncomfortable because it's new. But it's living. It's called really living and not just treading water, waiting for when you exit stage left from this earth human experience. The next stage for this us versus them or the warring mentality, and looking at it to what can one individual person do? You know, if you have an idea that really is divinely inspired, then start to talk about it. Start to share it with people of like minds. Now, this is not us versus mine, but just to bounce off of them. And then once you get a little bit more comfortable with that idea, feel free to share it with others of not like minds, to say, where are the holes in this? Where do you see this not working? And you'll start to get a clearer picture of how is this idea of mine going to play out in this whole larger playing field. And then you can start to understand maybe what pocket do you want to take a look at within this whole big picture. Where does this resonate? Where doesn't this resonate? But at any rate, it makes it a richer experience when we listen to each other and really are open to it. Now, that's part of the discovery process. There's another side to that when you have an idea. I'm going to take a little tangent here, but it's a short one, I promise, and it's one that I think is worth taking. When you have the idea that you really feel in your gut, in your heart of hearts, deep within your being, and that's assuming that you haven't gotten quite yet down to that whole divine soul level, and that's that conscious part of you that is aware of your connection to everything that ever was, is, and will be. And I say that in a linear time frame, even if time isn't linear, other than the convenience of how we live it here on earth. It's important to keep it to yourself until it kind of becomes fully formed. So when you're chatting with other, just so that it doesn't get diluted, so that you're waiting for it to really fully form and it doesn't get squashed by other people's fears. Then when it's kind of formed, you can go into having those conversations with other people. Because then you, and select them. I mean, feel it from deeper within your gut who you're sharing this with, as it's getting its legs, as it's taking its form. And then when it's ready to be born, it's kind of the scarab, that comes out of its shell fully formed. So the idea is fully formed. And so then it just becomes a question of now cause and effect. How do I put this in motion? How do I put this in action? One of the principles is that divine light flows and manifests our thoughts. So it flows where your attention goes. And so you pay attention to fear, it's going to flow into that. You pay attention to emotional freedom, it's going to flow into that. So one of the principles, divine light flows where your attention goes. It manifests where your intention stays focused and your actions put action to it. It's a good little formula to remember because it's just a basic principle of that. If I would say, with a call to action, remember this. You've got the choice point at any given moment to stop what you're doing. Take a look at it. Stop, look, let love. Stop what you're doing. Take a look at it. Let go. Let yourself look within and let love flow to bring you deeper levels of illumination, emotional freedom, courage, clarity, and then put it into new action. Start small. You get there faster if you take a lot of small, consistent steps than if you try to do one big, huge leap. When you walk into new realms, I liken it to walking on ice. If you try to take big, huge strides, it's easy for your heel to slip out and you fall down on your butt. And you can pick yourself back up, but you get bruised along the way. But if you take small steps until you learn what is the texture of this new terrain, the texture of the ice, how big are the steps that I can take, you're going to find that they're small, 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 and then you move into the strides because you've got ownership of that new terrain that you're walking in. And if you were to look at it mathematically, you got a little Fibonacci spiral going on. And that's part of all of creation. So live your life fully, freely, joyfully, joyously, unlimited, uninhibited, because you can.